Technology to keep you organized on today's Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Today we are going to talk about technology and how you can use that to keep yourself organized. And with us is Deb Lee from Soho Tech Training, who's also a certified professional organizer. Deb, welcome back.
Well, thank you for having me back. I feel very special. Thank you.
You have had a lot to offer on our last program, and people can go and look up. I can't remember which episode. You were in one of our first 10 episodes, so that was back in season 1, and now we're getting ready for season 2 coming up. But I wanted to talk to you today about using tech, because that's what Soho Tech Training does. It helps businesses and individuals get more organized with using technology. So let's talk maybe about some of your favorite apps today and some of just some things that help us do our job better. So if you only had one app that you could use and you couldn't use any else, what can you not live without?
Oh, goodness. That would be my calendar.
Okay.
Because I can at least put notes in my calendar. So if I needed to capture information, I could do that. So I love using Google Calendar. Okay. I love that I can color coordinate. I can make different types of events a different color. I can invite people. It's very flexible. So my calendar app is probably the one that I could not live without. And if I had to pick a second,
I'll let you.
I probably would go for my task management app, and I'm using one called Due, D-U-E. Okay. It is extremely annoying. It buzzes me minutely if I don't click and say, yes, I've done that task. I can snooze it. I try not to do that. I try to just get it done because it really is annoying. So those would be my top 2, but there's so many. I hope we'll get to talk about more than just 2.
We're going to talk more. Let's talk about how you do you use an iPhone or an Android or some phone that you are you syncing this with your desktop? So kind of explain how that works.
Okay, so I'm using an iPhone. I used to be a BlackBerry girl, and I could not stand the iPhone for some reason. And I even touched it. I held it. I just didn't like it. And then I tried it again, and then I was sold. So I use an iPhone, and it's super easy for me to do iCloud in terms of syncing and backing up so that I don't lose my content. In fact, recently, the littlest member of my household put in the wrong code many, many times, and I had to retrieve all of the information I had stored, and thankfully I had iCloud. So wow. I'm an iPhone girl. Yes. Okay.
So but Google Calendar you're using right on your there's an iPhone app for that, or do you just go right to are you just logged into Google? How do you use that?
Okay, so here let me complicate things further. So you already know that I'm an appaholic. I love apps. So when I'm using Google Calendar, I use it on the web, but I also like testing out other calendar apps. And so I'm testing 2 presently, which is interesting for me, at the same time. There's one called Sunrise, and the other one is called Tempo AI. They both act in similar ways, except that one pulls in your social media contacts so that you get the full breadth of where you can connect with this person, and it pulls all that in. And it gives you other kinds of cool calendars. So right now I love tennis, so I've got a tennis calendar that's attached to Sunrise. Tempo AI, on the other hand, it will allow you to attach an event to an email. So it will search all of your email and say, this meeting that you have with John Hunt, here are all the emails related to that. Oh, and nice. Those emails might have your phone number, your address if I'm meeting you in person. All of the necessary information would be there for me, so I wouldn't have to enter it in my calendar. So right now I'm a little bit crazy between these 2. You really just need one calendar.
I was going to say, let's talk about how the task manager, though, connects with the calendar. Isn't that an important function, though? Because, I mean, don't you want to be able to take a task and put it on your calendar? How do these things talk to each other?
Well, I sort of do that a little bit differently. I see my tasks as completely separate from my calendar. I want my calendar to be for appointments. I don't want it to be for tasks. So I separate those two out. They are not connected in any way, shape, or form. I don't want them to be, because a task is an action I have to take. My calendar is a meeting, whether it's virtual like this one or in person, someplace I have to be, an appointment of some kind. And I really want my calendar to reflect that. It could be I need to be in front of my computer so I can take a webinar or do a teleclass or something like that. But my tasks are separate.
Okay, so how about if you have a task that's you know, something you need to do on Friday or whatever, and you do you ever calendarize or schedule your tasks, or do you just have like open space on your calendar and whenever it's open, that's when I'm working on tasks? How do you kind of reconcile that?
So I tend to have certain points of the day when I'm working on, usually my tasks are not in isolation. They're usually attached to some project of some kind. So, you know, doing Google Hangout interview comes with steps. And I've got to put all those steps in, and I have to have, all of them ready for me to go so I can be prepared for my interview. So I use certain times of the day, and depending on when the interview is scheduled, I sort of just plan it, and I add those reminders in my task manager. If it's a really full-blown project, I use another app called Trello, Trello. And that one is super easy, great for a visual learner. It's sort of, it uses some really familiar gestures that we already do. So drag and drop, if you're familiar doing that, you can drag and drop cards and create topics that have, it's a card system. Mm-hmm. And you can flip the card over and see what's inside. You can create a checklist. So it's a pretty robust app. It's also free, by the way. There's a paid version, but the free version comes with a lot of bells and whistles. So for really large, mountainous types of projects, I use Trello. But if it's the small things, I can use Do, because my phone is always with me. Although there is also a Trello app, so it's web-based, but it's also, you can get it on your iPhone as well as on your Android.
Well,
so
how quickly does your iPhone battery run out then?
Oh gosh, don't ask me that question. Oh, it's bad. It is so bad. It's really bad. I have too many apps, and every time I hear of a new app, I just think, I've got to try that. But I wouldn't recommend that other people do that. It's beneficial to me because then I can share what I learn with other people. But if you're really looking for something to help you stay on track, stay on task, be on time, find one thing that really, really works for you, because it works with your learning style, your personality, your lifestyle. And that one thing could be paper, but if it's an app, just pick one, try it for, 3, 6, 8, 10 weeks, really give it a good try and make sure that it works for you, but then stick with it if it does. So I wouldn't do what I do. I wouldn't recommend. Don't do this at home.
Yeah.
Right. Don't do what I do.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's say you're meeting with a new client and you want to get them set up. Would you set them up on Do for the calendar? How would you set somebody up for a basic organization package, for calendars, tasks, and things like that if you were meeting with somebody?
Okay. So everybody's different. Everyone has their own unique way of doing things and receiving information. So it would start with a conversation of, let's talk about what technology you're comfortable with. And if you are at all comfortable with technology, because maybe it's really paper and pencil for you. Plus, you might not need an extra app to do some of the things you need to do. In fact, the iPhone comes with a built-in reminders app. You don't have to go get anything. Do cost, I believe, $2.99. And I was willing to pay that $2.99, but you probably wouldn't have to. You could use what was already on your phone, so you'd play with it for a while and see if you liked it. So I would do sort of an inventory. Let's talk about your learning style, personality. What do you normally do? What holes are we trying to fill? And then make suggestions based on that person, that individual person's unique needs. So there's no cookie cutter way of doing that, which I actually quite like. Makes my job a little interesting, of course, but it also means that it's tailored for the client. So it should fit them, much the way that, you put on a comfortable pair of shoes, that kind of thing.
Awesome. Well, we've covered the basics of tasks and calendars. We're going to take a quick break here. And when we come back, I want to talk about more of your apps, because I know on your phone there's probably hundreds, well, maybe tens, but we'll get some of those. And we are talking with Deb Lee from SohoTechTraining.com. And she is a technology expert. She's also a certified professional organizer. So we kind of got both of those qualities in one. And we're going to get some of her favorite apps, more of them, when we come back. Now you see it? Now you don't. Now you see it again. Smeed Erasable Super Tab folders have a special erasable surface that makes it easy to reuse and revise the labels on your folders, saving you time and money. All you need is a permanent marker, standard white eraser, and Smeed Erasable Super Tab file folders. Use erasable Super Tab folders and get 90% more label area compared to standard file folders, and you can reuse erasables again and again. Erasable Super Tab folders come in a variety of colors for even more organizing possibilities. Erasable Super Tab folders, an eco-friendly reusable innovation from Smeed, keeping you organized. We are back now on Keeping You Organized, joined by Deb Lee from SohoTechTraining.com. And Deb, where are you located?
I am in Maryland.
Okay, so you're out on the East Coast, and
Yes.
do you do services where you work virtually with people, or are you primarily in your own geographic area?
I do a bit of that. I do like virtual organizing. Sometimes it is just on the phone, so I don't see them. Some people are not quite ready for me to see their space just yet. They need a little bit of time to get used to that. Other people jump right in, and we are usually either on Skype or FaceTime.
Okay.
And so we'll start off the conversation face to face, and then they flip things around and they show me their space.
Nice.
And I give them pointers. And I'm doing a lot of inventorying as well. I'm asking questions just to get an idea of flow and how, family life is. And then I make recommendations that they go off and they try. So what's nice about doing that is they don't have to be, ready. They can just call me on the phone, or I call them. They don't have to get dressed and put on fancy clothes. They don't have to do any of those things, and I can actually be there with them. So I like that. It's actually quite fun.
It's kind of just a reflection on a lot of industries. So technology, which we're talking about today, has changed the professional organizing industry. A lot of professional organizers, probably who've been around a long time, were just the all face-to-face. But now, like you say, you could take your phone and say, here is a tour of my, place. And, just like a good designer, a good interior designer can work off a blueprint. If you see what you're going with there, it works well. So,
and you can ask questions. You're not just, sort of randomly sharing tips. You're really getting to the heart of what's the problem in this particular area, what makes it difficult, and what do you wish for? I really wish I had a space to put all of my shoes. Okay, well, let's look at that space. In fact, recently I worked with someone who had a space in her garage, and she needed it to be a drop-off point for when they entered the home. That was their main entry to the home. So we talked about, okay, let's look at how much space you're working with, how many people are we talking about, and the main issue was shoes. So how do we corral that? How do we keep that going? So using technology, she was in Pennsylvania, I think, and I'm here in Maryland, so we're not that far away, but certainly a drive to Pennsylvania would have been a long trip for me. But she was able to really get some good advice just by talking to me on FaceTime.
That's awesome. All right, well, let's talk some more apps. We've gotten through some of the basic ones. What are the other ones you just love and that can help business owners with their productivity, with just being more organized?
Well, I already mentioned one that I think everyone should check out, and that's Trello.
Yep.
Another one that I think people should check out would be Asana. It is also free, and you get a very robust application. It's web-based, and you can invite other people to work with you. So if you have a team, if you use a virtual assistant, you can invite them to work with you on certain projects and then keep track of that project and also communicate within Asana. You can do the same things with Trello as well, but Asana, someone actually did a teleclass I hosted, and she really sort of broke down the nitty-gritty of this application, and it was so simple and so easy. I totally would recommend that. So those I'd say are my top two for managing projects and also working with other people.
Okay.
I really like those. In terms of task management, again, I like separating out tasks from appointments. One of the more popular ones out there is Toodle-Do. What I like about that one, and also what sometimes can be a little bit overwhelming, you have to be ready for it, is that it's very robust. You can create a task and a subtask, and you can have a series of hot topics. It has a lot of features that if you like that and you can sort of navigate it and keep up with it, then I think Toodle-Do would be a great one to check out as well. So I'd say those three are really, really good to have a look at.
Now, as you work with people in just your regular organizing business, and say you go into a business, how about for file management and people have lots of papers, and what's your philosophy or theory on like scanning and archiving versus keeping hard files? Where are you at in that?
Okay, so for me personally, I don't like dealing with a lot of paper and having to handle it. So I try to do as much scanning or electronic documents sent to me. So if it's a bill from a vendor, I say, please set me up with electronic billing and electronic statements, all of that. For some things, obviously, you need to hold on to paper. And again, this is unique to the client. Some clients just don't want to do that. They don't want scanning. They want the hard copy, and they want to hold on to this many months of that hard copy. And that's fine. So then we talk about, okay, how are you going to remember and recall which file you need when you need it? And are you going to scan some and then keep hard copies of others? So again, very, very specific to the client. Color coding things. I know Sneed has these great durable folders that can be used. So Hang Tough, these are great products people can use, but I always say, figure out where you are in the spectrum of things. So is it paper? Is it scanning? Is it a hybrid of both? I prefer scanning. That also takes time. You can certainly ship it off and have a service bulk scan it for you. There are many services that will do that for you. Shoebox is one of them. Neat Company also does that. So I hate saying it depends, but it does.
Well, now let's talk about the app that doesn't exist, the app you would die for. You wish that if I could have this app, it would be fill in the blank.
Oh, wow. If I could have an app that would read my emails, reply to them, archive them, without me really having to do that much with them, I would be thrilled.
That's called a virtual assistant, I think.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Email, as we've talked about before, email is not dead. People, read lots of email. They get them. They come in droves. They fill up your box. And if you don't stay on top of them, you might miss something. What's nice about trying to find an email is that you can now just enter a keyword. And Google Gmail has great search features. You just enter a keyword and you just recall what you're looking for. But if you miss the email, that's the thing. You've got to sort of stay on top of email so that you don't miss something important, like, hey, meet up with John so you can do a Skype interview. You want to make sure that you've got that settled. So that app would take care of that for me.
Yeah.
If I could just not deal with email, I'd be happy. If
it could do that, and if it could do your laundry at the same time, man, then it'd be a killer app then, right?
I've always said if I could find a piece of equipment or even an app that would launder, dry, fold, and put away, that would be amazing.
You'd be a millionaire. Well, we're gonna have to leave that idea for another show. We're gonna wrap it up here, but why don't you let people know again? Just summarize what kind of services you offer and how is the best way to get a hold of you.
So the best way to find me would be to go to sohotechtraining.com. There's a contact form there. If you want to reach out and ask a question or just chat with me, that's fine too. And I'm everywhere on social media. I'm on Google+, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest. I'm pretty much everywhere. So just like apps, I love social media quite a bit. And I help small business owners to sort of navigate technology and to find the right things that will help them be productive and actually get things done while they're working for themselves. and also just figure out what's out there so that they don't have to do all that research. So I sort of remove some of that barrier to some of the fears people have about technology.
Awesome. Well, we have a lot of things we covered in the program today, and we'll get as many of those items in our show notes as we can as well. Links to the apps, links to your website, and those kinds of things. But this sounds like we need to get you back again and talk even more, because I think we've just kind of only done a few of the things, and probably by the time we talk next, all those apps will be passé and there'll be new stuff, right?
Yes, absolutely. Some of them are, sort of tried and true. They'll hang around for a while, but there'll always be something new. And I'm happy to share it with you next time.
Awesome. Great. Deb Lee, SohoTechTraining.com. Now you are up to date on all the latest tech to keep you organized. And we'll see you next time on Keeping You Organized.